fellow enthusiasts, this is Tommy Lanham, and I am on a mission to break the monotony of the mundane and the mediocre by bringing as much enthusiasm to as many businesses, ministries, marriages, and individual lives as I possibly can. Hey, if you want to know the secret of your personality code, then this video is for you.
Here we go.
Hey guys, we have covered over the previous 4 videos about different aspects of your personality style. And if you haven't watched those, I would encourage you to watch those. I think this will be more beneficial if you have that background of what we've talked about in the 4 previous videos. What we've looked at over the past 4 videos is, first of all, is how do we get our energy? And it really comes down to whether we get our energy from being around people or being by ourselves. An energy of that energy that flows by being around other people, or the energy that flows by being alone with our own ideas. And the 2 words that we use for that are extrovert and introvert. Now, for the sake of what we're leading into a little later, we want to use letters that kind of symbolize those words. And with an extrovert, we're going to use an E. Okay? Now with an introvert, we're going to use an I. Extrovert E, introvert I. That's where you get your energy. The second aspect of what we covered in that second video is how we best communicate. Some people communicate very concretely. A concrete communicator is someone who communicates with what can be observed. What they can see, what they can physically feel, what they can taste, what they can smell, and what they can hear. Those 5 senses. And that's how we best communicate things. Best way to communicate with a concrete communicator: tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. An intro, then a 1, 2, 3, and a conclusion. An abstract communicator does not communicate so much with what can be observed as what can be imagined. It's going beyond what can just be observed. It's not just seeing the lines, it's seeing between the lines. And so, abstract communicators, they go beyond just point 1, point 2, point 3. Sometimes they don't even want to hear the point, they want to figure out the point on their own. And so there's the difference between a concrete communicator and an abstract communicator. Now the concrete communicators we call sensors, dealing with the 5 senses that we talked about. That's how they communicate. What they can hear, what they can see, what they can smell, what they can taste, and what they can touch. That's how a sensor best communicates. And those are concrete communicators. The abstract communicators we're going to call intuitives. Intuitives are the ones that go beyond just the 5 senses and have what you might call a 6th sense. They just kind of have that feel about something, that intuition about something. So we have our sensors, who are concrete communicators, and our intuitives, who are abstract communicators. Now with our sensors, we're going to use the letter S as we get into this personality code. With the intuitives, we've already used an I, so we can't use the I, but we're just going to go to the second letter and use an N. Okay? Well, all people are either an S or an N. Now, as we covered in the other videos, all of us have some of both, but there's typically one that is more dominant than the other. Okay? Now with the extrovert, we got E, introvert, I. The next section about communication, the S is for sensors, and the N is for intuitives. Now, we want to go down into how people typically make decisions. And with the 2 different ways of making decisions, we have thinkers and we have feelers. Thinkers are the ones that take all the facts and deductively come to a conclusion because of the facts. Feelers are those that take in other people's considerations. how other people might feel about it. What are the values that are shared, and how do the values guide those decisions that we need to make? Thinkers, they start with the facts, and then they might go toward how other people feel. Feelers, they begin with the feelings of other people, and then they might go toward the facts. Neither one is right or wrong, and all of us have some of both. But there's one that is more dominant in each one of us. Now with the thinkers, we're going to use the letter T to describe them. With the feelers, we're going to use the letter F. Alright? Extrovert and introvert is E and I. Sensors and intuitives are S and N. The thinkers and the feelers are T and F. Now for the last one. Okay, this is the last one. And again, this makes more sense if you go back and listen to some of the previous videos. The last one is how we prioritize. And some of us are very scheduled. We like having a to-do list where we can mark things off that list. We like having a schedule that's predetermined, and we don't like any kind of flexibility with that schedule. And we just like things set out and planned. Then there are those of us that are more spontaneous. We like to keep our schedule open. We like to keep our options open. We like to be extremely flexible with anything that might already be planned. Now, those first ones we call judgers. And this is a situation, listen, these words came up with describing personality types almost 100 years ago. And some of these words have changed since then. Judgers does not mean that they are judgmental. Judgers just means that they are more scheduled. They like to just do it. Get it scheduled and get it done. The P is for perceivers. And again, it doesn't mean that they perceive things better than other people do, but it just means that they like to continue to take in information. And they don't like the rigidness of schedules without any flexibility. Now the judgers, we're going to use the letter J to describe them. And then with the perceivers, we're going to use the letter P. Remember, judgers are those that are scheduled. P is for those that are more spontaneous. Now, just real quick, I want to go back through those letters because those letters are going to make sense here in a minute. The E and the I stand for extrovert and introvert. The S and the N stands for sensors and intuitives. The T and the F stands for thinkers and feelers. And the J and the P stand for judgers and perceivers. And each one of those letters, as we've already discussed, have a certain meaning, a certain leaning, a style, if you will, of each individual. Now, here's the cool thing. When you take these letters and you look at the different combinations of them, you might be an INFP, or you might be a ESTJ, or there are 16 different possibilities of combinations there. However, you could take those 16 different combinations. We're not going to cover all 16. That might be something we do in a future video. But you can take those 16 and you can categorize those. You can divide those up into 4 major personality styles. Now let me just say that the human psyche is much more complex than any 8 letters can possibly describe. Okay? As we go through this, just understand this is not a perfect science where it describes exactly what you're going to do at any point in time and moment. That doesn't exist. So if you are an SJ, if you're a sensor judger, if you're a concrete communicator and a scheduled person, the SJ, you are what we call a heart. You're a heart. Hearts are the security-seeking personalities. They want to know that everything's secure, that there's enough money in the bank, that their marriage is safe, that their kids are safe, that their job is secure. They just want to know that everything is secure. They're the security-seeking personality. They make up about 40 to 50% of the world's population. When you think of a particular culture, typically it is the hearts that determine that culture. That's who they're talking about. Because hearts are kind of the stabilizers of society. Matter of fact, as leaders, they are stabilizers. They stabilize an organization or a home or a church or whatever it is they're leading. They bring stability to that. One of the best biblical examples of a heart is Moses. Moses was a stabilizer with the children of Israel as they were coming out of Egypt and everything was just kind of chaos. Moses brought stability to that group of people because hearts are stabilizers. In work or in ministry, they really value connection and accomplishment. They want to connect with other people and they want to know that something is being accomplished, that they're getting things done, that they're able to look back at the end of the day and say, hey, I was able to check this off my to-do list. They like celebrating those accomplishments. And listen, hearts are loyal. They're loyal. Once a heart says they're going to be with you, man, they're going to be with you. And they will bust through walls in order to keep their word for you. Now again, we're talking generalizations here, but typically that is true for the most part with hearts. If you are an SJ, meaning you're a censor, judge, or a concrete communicator and a scheduled person, then you are a heart. Now, if you are also an S, again we're looking at the S, but you're not a J, you're a P, meaning that you are a concrete communicator and you are a spontaneous person. You don't necessarily like schedules a lot. You are what we call bodies. Bodies are the thrill-seeking personalities. They're looking for the next adventure. They want to have fun. They want to know things that are going to be exciting. And so they just seek that thrill in life. They make up about 30 to 40% of the world's population. A biblical example of a body is Peter. We oftentimes see Peter, he just kind of speaks before he thinks kind of thing. He was a great leader, accomplished great things, but you see how sometimes he would take action before he thought, and sometimes that's what's needed. Okay? And that's the way bodies are. They just kind of run into things, they want to do things, they want to be active. As a matter of fact, in the workplace and in ministry, they want to be active and they want to have fun. They don't like sitting around in meetings. They don't like a whole lot of planning. Tell me what you want to do and let's run in and do it. They don't necessarily like a lot of rules. They don't like things to be rigid when they go into things. They want to have flexibility and they want to be active and have fun and get things done. Matter of fact, as leaders, they are troubleshooters. Meaning that you bring them into a situation, man, they want to find an answer and go on to something else. They don't want to dilly-dally. They don't want to over-evaluate and analyze everything. They go, whoof, here's the problem. Here's the fix. Let's go to something else. Those are the bodies. So if you are an SP, a sensor perceiver, a concrete communicator, and a spontaneous person, then you are a body. That's your personality code. All right, we want to look at those second letters again. The S and N, only this time, if you are an N, I'm speaking to you. If you think that you are an N, you're an intuitive. Meaning that you're not a concrete communicator, but you're an abstract communicator. And then look at the very next letter, not the J and the P. Look at the very next letter, which is the T or the F. If you are an N, intuitive, and an F, you make decisions more through the feelings of yourself and others, then you are what we call a soul. You are a soul. Souls make up about 10 to 20% of the world's population. They are what we call the identity-seeking personality. They're the ones always trying to figure out who they are. And if they ever figure out who they are, they cease being who they are, because who they are is trying to find out who they are. And listen, that's not just true about themselves. They're that way with other people. They love to lead people through a self-discovery process of better understanding themselves so that they could better reach their potential. Souls thrive on that. They are the identity-seeking personality. A biblical example of a soul would be Barnabas. You could see how Barnabas was always kind of looking out for the other person. He wanted to bring harmony and meaning to the group, and he was always willing to give the other person the benefit of the doubt in his relationships. And so Barnabas is one of the best examples in the Bible of a soul. Listen, in work or ministry, souls want harmony within whatever group they're working with, and they want to work toward a purpose. They want to work toward a meaning. They want to know that whatever they're doing is going to make a significant difference in people's lives. Now, other people need that to some extent as well. Souls have to have that. It's in their DNA. And so that kind of describes the souls. Again, these are general statements. It's not going to be 100% true about every individual, but we're talking about what are your leanings here. And if you are an intuitive, an abstract communicator, and you combine that with being a feeler in the way you make decisions, that you look at more of the values and how it affects other people before you look at the facts, then you are a soul. Now, I told you there were 4. We've done 3. We've got 1 more to go. Again, if you are an intuitive, but you're not a feeler, but a thinker, which is the T, which means you make decision first based on the facts, regardless of what people's feelings and values are, then you are a thinker. And if you are an intuitive, an N, and you are a T, a thinker, then your personality style is what we call the minds. You are a mind. And the mind is the knowledge-seeking personalities. They're the ones always trying to figure out how things work. They're the ones that when they are little children and they get presents for their birthday or for Christmas, rather than just play with them, they want to take them apart to figure out how they work. Because they're always curious about how things work. They make up about 5 to 10% of the world's population. A great example in the scripture of a mind is Paul. Paul wanted to figure out how it worked. If you're familiar with the story of Paul, man, it took Paul a long time to convert from his Jewish religion to a faith in Jesus and the Christian faith. It took him a long time to do that because it was a mental process for him. And oftentimes in the scripture you see where he had to sit down and reason with others. Paul's the one that wrote that we need to have our minds transformed. That we are renewed by the transformation of our minds. And so, as we look at Paul and how he lived out that life, we can tell that he was a mind because he was a knowledge seeker. Again, minds make up about 5 to 10% of the world's population. In work or in ministry, a mind needs to be an individual and they want to be efficient. They are fine with meetings as long as meetings are accomplishing something. They're looking at things and they're figuring things out. If meetings just tend to go on and on without ever really looking at the strategy of it all, then they lose interest. They lose interest. So they need to be an individual because they like to be who they are. Oftentimes they don't fit in with other groups unless groups are willing to accept them as they are. Minds need to be individuals, and they need to have things done efficiently. They don't want all the fluff. They don't want all the extras. They want to be efficient in what is the best way to accomplish this task. As leaders, minds as leaders are strategic. They're the best ones at looking at how you want to plan things out. What are the specific actions to take to get from point A to point B, and develop a strategy to get there. So there you have the hearts, the bodies, the souls, and the minds. And all of us fit into one of those 4 dominant personality types. Again, the human psyche is much more complex than just 4 dominant personality types. But it does help us to better understand ourselves and to better understand those that we are working with. It helps us to better understand what kind of leaders we need. If we've got an organization that's in chaos and we need to bring stability to the organization, hey, you want a heart to work that out. If you've got an organization and you've hit a brick wall about something and you just can't figure out what to do here, bring in a body, because as a leader they are troubleshooters. They look at the problem, they fix the problem, and they go on. They don't linger. If you need somebody to inspire the troops, to get people motivated and inspired to move forward, to make a difference, to create a better future, that's your souls. Because as leaders, they are inspirational leaders. And if you're looking how to get from point A to point B and to do it the most efficient, strategic way possible, you want a mind. You want a mind to do that, because they are the strategic leaders. Now listen, again, just like with the individual letters, all of us have aspects of all 4 of these within us. But there is an order to it. You've got a dominant, you've got a secondary, and then you've got the other 2 that are kind of down toward the bottom. Look at these and try to best understand who you are. There are surveys for this. If you're interested in one of those, I have one. You can also Google it and get some free ones online as well. Some of those you can't really trust. Some of them you can. But there's ways to figure out what your letters are, or you can just simply look at them and go, this sounds more like me. And talk to people you know and say, which one of these sounds more like me? And as you are able to figure out that personality code, what letters you are, then you can better understand your 4 dominant personality styles and which one is most true about you and which one's most true about your spouse, about your children, your co-workers, your boss, your employees, the people you go to church with. Everybody that you have a relationship with, you can better understand them and better understand yourself in a way that we can have less of the friction and more of the cohesion. Hey, I know this has been a long one, and this has been more probably in depth than some of our others, because we've gone into some serious stuff here, and when I do live events for this, we go anywhere from an hour to 4 hours just trying to cover what I've shared with you here in just a few minutes. So if you have any questions about this, please put it in the comments. I would love to have a discussion with you about this. If you're interested in getting a free booklet to help you better understand what your personality code is, just put that in the comments as well, and I will get that to you. Hey guys, the reason I teach this stuff is because I think when we better understand ourselves and we better understand those that we work with, that we are better able to feed our enthusiasm. And that's what these videos are all about, helping you to better feed your enthusiasm. Guys, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comments below, and if you want to be a part of the fellow enthusiast community, then please subscribe.